Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today we're talking about HGTV and the impact it has on how we decorate our homes. Join us as we discuss how this popular network has changed the way we think about style, for good and for bad. Let's get started. Listeners, today we're talking about HGTV, and I can't think of a woman I know that hasn't watched those before and after decorating shows, seen House Hunters, or doesn't know who Chip and Joanna Gaines are. Julie and Mindy, can you think of anyone?
I doubt it.
No,
Because even if you don't have cable, you've sat there getting your teeth cleaned while they do a House Hunters, or you've been at the dermatologist while they play one of those HGTV. Like, everyone knows it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny because every time I go to the dentist, it's House Hunter. Is that a thing? Is that a dentist thing?
I guess.
Oh, and when I used to get my nails done all the time, it was Chip and Joanna were on.
Yes, it's like a safe, neutral program. Nobody's going to object to HGTV. You can literally figure out, even if you entered 23 minutes into the episode, you can catch up on a 30-minute episode in 1 minute.
Right.
What's bad is if they're finished with your cleaning and you haven't seen the big reveal yet. It's like, can I stay?
Yes. I need to see how this turns out.
Yeah.
Yes. So listeners, you may have seen this article making the rounds on the internet. It is called HGTV is Making Our Homes Boring and Us Sad. And as soon as I saw this article, I texted it to Julie and Mindy and I said, I think we should talk about this on the podcast. And Julie said, I just read this a couple days ago. So I know there are probably other people that have read it. This article was based on 17 homeowners. So it's by no means an exhaustive survey, but it gets the ball rolling on a discussion that I think we kind of are aware of, but we don't always verbalize. All right. Well, what did you guys think about this article? Like, the headline is basically taking a hard stance. Did you agree with the headline? Did you like the article?
Well, I'll say that I used to be a big fan of HGTV, like when it first started. So that was a long, long time ago. Because back then it seemed like it was more DIY, instructional. And now it seems to be more over the top. Look what we can do. You know, have you seen that funny meme? It's like, the wife says she doesn't work and the husband like collects honey from bees, but our budget is 2.6 million. You know?
That's right.
Yes.
You know, it's like he's got some ridiculous job. She's home, and then their budget is always just so big.
Right.
And so I feel like it's a lot of unattainable homes now. So,
Right.
Yeah.
This completely resonated with me because I've mentioned before to you guys that it was the year 2006 and I was pregnant with Jacob and I had insomnia, and all I would do all night is watch HGTV. And you guys, I was never more discontent.
Yes.
I was so unhappy with that, with my home at that point. It's just, everything was wrong, everything. And so, after I had Jacob, it was like a dark cloud had settled in, you know, and I had Jacob, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can't watch this anymore. And I really had to stop watching it because it made me so discontent.
Yes, I can totally see that. I never actually turn on HGTV anymore to watch anything for that reason, because I never end the program feeling better about the place I live. Like, I remember there used to be this program that was on called Decorating Sense or something like that, where they would just take like a small amount of money to a small.
It was like $100.
Yes, that was the kind of show I enjoyed because it was very attainable. Redoing my entire house, that's not attainable and only makes me feel bad.
Right.
Yeah. That was a good show.
So yes, I think that's probably one of the reasons that HGTV makes us sad about our homes. But what the article is getting at is that it makes all of our homes boring and sad because it makes us all have homes that kind of look alike. So that is kind of where the article was going. It was basically saying that, and let me just read the first little part. If you've ever watched a home makeover show on HGTV, you know the key before sequence. It's when the camera critically pans over the house and the host points out everything that needs to be fixed. The decor, cluttered. The paint, cringe. The overall takeaway is that the home is an utter embarrassment and needs a total overhaul before anyone of taste would consider putting a doormat out front. And that's true.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes how you can feel about your own house at the end of the program. But basically, it's talking about how what would happen if real people were under scrutiny this way in their real houses. And it says that it can lead to an overwhelming sameness in aesthetics. And all of our homes are kind of starting to look alike. Did you guys agree with that first part? Do you find that you go into a lot of homes that do kind of look alike?
I don't go into that many homes like for sale, but I guess I see on Instagram and social media and some TV that it does seem like neutrals are in, and that's what everybody's doing, and everybody's, like there's the top color of the year, and it's like, got to use this color. Like I would never use a color because it was the color of the year, like I don't know, I just
Right.
that would probably make me not use it. I don't know. But yeah, so it is very standardized and there's not a lot of individuality. I don't think they encourage that. It seems like the show doesn't give people confidence to go and do. It's like do this, very specific.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. It more tells you what's in instead of saying find what, works for you and your family.
Mhm.
So I definitely feel like there are, like everyone had the red dining room for years. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I remember that. Like that was, and then it was like, oh no, there's no red.
Right.
That's a no now.
Yeah.
But I think that there's certain colors that dominate seasons and eras. And so, you talk about 70s design and we can all picture it,
Yep.
it's lime green, yellow, browns. And it's just like the 90s, you had red.
Right.
Hunter green, I
Yes.
think that was really big.
Mhm.
So at the same time, I'll talk later, but I have fallen into those like color schemes and regretted it before. So I definitely do lean more towards the neutrals. It's at least going to last longer, making me happy because it's not so, bold.
Right. I think that where I notice it the most is when you follow home accounts on Instagram. And I think sometimes it's people of a certain age and then other people. But say I looked at homes of everyone in their 20s to, early 30s. I feel like a lot of them would have the same aesthetic. And then if I looked at like 40 in that decade, a lot of those would have the same aesthetic. It's hard to tell one home account from another unless you actually look at their names because so many of them look exactly the same. There's not really anything personal about the decor.
Even down to the plants they choose.
Yes.
It's the same plants.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I do think that it does. And it could be HGTV and social media, but it does lend itself to a sameness. And I often, especially in younger people's homes, I often wonder, like, where is the hand-me-down furniture? Where is grandma's dresser that you didn't have a dresser when you got married? So she said, here, take this extra one. Like, you don't see any of that kind of thing.
Yeah. And it kind of looks like, and I'm not judging Target because I love Target, but it looks like you could go and buy it. Like everybody could buy all the same stuff, like at the same store at the same time. It's not collected and eclectic. You could literally furnish your house in a day.
And I feel like that's kind of what this article is getting at, that when we all have homes that look like that, it makes us boring and sad. And we're not talking about selling our house, because I do think that when people sell their house, they do take the personalization out. They do try to make it as neutral and appeal to as many people. But I think what this article is talking about is we're not even selling our houses and we're still worried about this. So are you fearful of getting it wrong when you decorate or do a project around your home? And wrong in this case is defined as a decision that will make your home less appealing to buyers, even if you have no plans to put it on the market. Like when you do a project, do you think, oh, if I went to sell my house, would people like this?
Well, if you saw my green kitchen, you would know the answer to this question. It's no for me. But it's funny because when we painted the kitchen green, of course, I did consider what people would think that might buy my house, but I had no plans of selling my house. I mean, that was going to be 20 more years, you know. So I thought, oh, it won't matter anyway. And then we sold it within 2 years. But looking back, I think, you know, I'm happy I did it because I really loved it for those 2 years. And I actually didn't have any trouble selling it. And not that kitchen cabinets are a minor thing, but they were older. It wasn't like I put in new ones that color. I always think, you know, they can change it.
Right.
That's not that hard to change, you know. I think probably my best advice that I've heard is, you know, maybe with the things that are the hardest to change, stick with more neutral, classic things, and go a little bolder on things that could be changed. So, yeah, I think a lot of people probably skip out on bolder choices, always thinking about the next buyer, the next owner, and it's like, who wants to live in your house thinking about somebody else all the time? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's just, I just wouldn't enjoy that.
Right.
Now, unless I knew I moved every 2 years, and that I might change. I might
and
have
that's
a different.
Mindy. Yes.
Yeah. So, Mindy, what do you think?
This is so fun to go after you, Julie, because we are so opposite. You guys, I don't even know who I would be if I wasn't thinking about resale at all moments. Or thinking, oh, I love that house, even down the street. My husband's not changing jobs, but let's buy a new house. It's totally ingrained in me. And it's a lifelong situation for me to always think, okay, well, if we're going to sell it, like, what would it cost to fix it? You know?
Or how fast could I put my house on the market? If I found out today that I had to move next week, how fast could I put my house on the market?
Yes. You guys, I mean, I think I don't even know. Like I said, I don't know who I would be because I have never lived in a house long enough to even figure out what my taste are. Like, I feel like the older I get to accumulating things and becoming more eclectic and having more warmth, you know, I'm figuring that out. And I love that part of myself of trying to figure out, well, what do I like? But like painting my cabinets, I just don't think I could ever do that. But also because I'm afraid of myself. I don't think I'm a very good designer. Like, I follow Chris Loves Julia Instagram page, and she's great with color, great with bold color, patterns, things like that. And so, but I think back to the Mindy that got married at 18, and our first furniture was hunter green and cream checked. It was the most bold pattern, and y'all, I was sick of it after a couple months. And we bought that brand new. And I thought, why did I do that? And then when we had Abby, I painted her walls Pepto-Bismol pink. And it was not a week later before I painted it all white and stenciled. And so through my own mistakes, I think that I love color, but I have learned that I like my big pieces to be neutral and I need my color to come in accents because I changed my mind. I'm not even into yellow right now. I'm into more, you know, greens, burnt oranges. I love blues. So those are the colors I'm leaning towards, and I just can't commit.
Well, but you know yourself. I mean, you know that, and that's what works. So that's, you know, you're still doing what you like.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I always think if I was going to repaint those cabinets, you know, before I had to put it on the market, what if I painted it a color that the buyers still don't like and they're going to repaint it anyway? Like, wouldn't it be just as easy to cover the green as the white if they hated, you know what I mean? I always just thought, let them do the work and get it like they want it. That's what I would want if I was buying a house. I wouldn't want them to have put all this money into new stuff that I still didn't like.
Right.
Well, I noticed that one of the things that I think I hear other people kind of gravitate towards sometimes too, is somebody that is bold enough to do what they want in their house and how much we enjoy going over to their house and looking at their choices. So like Julie, you've always been bold enough to do what you want in your house. And I have another friend that's also bold enough to do it. And people are always commenting on the fact that the home really reflects that person's style. It's like a true extension of themselves. And I like it when a home tells you something about the person living there.
Right.
So I think that is maybe what's missing from some of our sameness that we get.
I agree.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's where the sadness maybe is coming from in the article, that they're not reflections of the individuals because they're just kind of like a stamp,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just more of a reflection of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then when we do see someone willing to do that, I think we like it and we admire them for that.
This article did prompt me to start a new Pinterest folder.
Oh.
And I was like, I want to make some bolder color choices. And this is, what I needed to kind of do that. And so I made a new folder. Is that what it's called on Pinterest?
Board.
A board.
Okay. Thank you. I'm probably saying this wrong. I haven't used Pinterest in a long time, but I titled it like bold colors for my home. And I started saving pictures of things that I liked that like made me happy and color choices that made me happy. And, and I think I could almost pick and choose like one piece or like fireplace or, curtain, like I said, or something like that, or even a piece of furniture that I could maybe start to dabble a little bit. So I'm trying, and I think I would love to be bold enough to do something fun, but also I don't live in my house by myself, and Bryce and I both need to be able to be happy with it. So that is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Well, one of the examples the person in the article talked about was that she had friends who would come to her house and say they liked her kitchen except for the white appliances. But the way that she viewed her white appliances was she wanted to keep them because she liked them and because she found that stainless steel were more difficult to clean for her and she didn't find them as appealing. And I was wondering if you guys have had any choices like that. Like I was thinking of, I never have liked granite countertops. I understand they were hugely popular for years and years and still can be. But there are very few pieces of granite that I've ever seen that I've said, boy, I'd like to look at that every day. To me, they're too busy. All the crumbs hide on them. Like when I've had them in rental, like VRBOs or Airbnbs, like I can't even tell if the countertop's clean because anything can be hiding anywhere. I've just never cared. To me, they just feel cold and I just don't like them. And so when I went to replace my countertops, that's the thing that people urged you to do was to do granite. And Julie, I know that happened to you because you ended up going with wood cabinets or wood countertops. But I think it's hard to go against the grain. Like a countertop thing, it was like such a standard that people were just, even if they had an older home, they would just rip out the old countertop and put on a slab of granite and now their kitchen was updated. Even though nothing else around it had been updated. That was enough. Like it was such a standard that you felt really weird if you didn't like it. Like, is there an example that you can think of in your mind?
Well, and that's true. Like, if you're going to list your home, that's the first thing people say, granite countertops. Never mind what color they are or how busy or, it's just granite countertops. And there's a wide range of granite countertops.
Yes.
Yeah. I know white kitchens are kind of a big, that seems to be a big standard. And it's really funny because I have an all white kitchen now and I'm just dying to paint it.
Oh, yeah.
But, I probably won't anytime soon, but.
Well, has there ever been anything that you just really haven't liked, but you went ahead and did it because, Mindy, this might be something that you did because you knew it'd be good for resale, but you didn't particularly like it?
I really can't think of anything.
No? Okay.
Because I personally, like I said, anytime I made a really bold choice, I was dying to neutralize it. Like I was dying to make it lighter and airier and have pops of color. Like that really does make my home more serene and peaceful for me.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, it was anytime I made a bolder choice that I was wanting to go back and neutralize.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I know I can think of one. It's not something that I choose, but I've heard people say this. Like, I want carpet. People say, I want carpet in my bedroom. I want to step out on carpet, whereas it kind of seems to be the trend that you have to have hardwood everywhere.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what everybody likes.
Right. And they might end up putting hardwood in for resale value, but then every morning they're cold and they don't like stepping on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could definitely see things like that happening. Okay. Let's see here. I thought this was good too. She wrote, I get asked the question a lot, is it trendy? And I always advise clients not to go down that route because it is a trend and it will go out of style. And that is so true. Like, it doesn't, if you've lived long enough, you could think you are on the absolute cutting edge. And I promise you, in 5 or 10 years, you'll look back at a picture of that and you'll be like, oh my goodness, that choice. No.
Right. Because if you see the trend and do it, they say they last like 10 years, like the gray trend, you know? So if you see it, you're probably in year 5. You only got 5 years left. You know what I mean?
I know.
You're not on the cutting edge of that trend, probably.
Somebody's like, what is it that when you see it in Target or TJ Maxx, it's already out. Like, it's already out of style. And I'm like, I'm just catching on. So
well, I followed this lady on Instagram and I love Chris Loves Julia, but this is probably my new favorite. Her name is Maria Killam. And she's a decorator who kind of touts herself as a color specialist. And she kind of rants about the people that are painting their brick houses white and putting in black windows and trim. Like, she just cannot quit talking about that. Because she said, it's, you're dating your house to the 2020s. She said, really, other than maybe the style or layout of the house, you don't want people to be able to say you painted that in 1992 or, like the red dining room or the green.
Right.
Like, her motto is do this and you'll love your house forever. And I just love that because I want to love my house forever. So she talks about sticking to, she does these little stories on trendy versus timeless. And you just see them over and over and over again. She marks it trendy or timeless. And you really start to develop an eye like, oh, I see where she's going with this. Don't overuse black. Every room needs a little black, but it doesn't need to be all black. Or, every piece of furniture doesn't need to be black. Or, there are certain things that are always going to be in style, like subway tile or brown medium tone floors versus gray or the dark ebony. Like, there's just timeless things. And on the things that are more expensive and harder to replace, you want to go with classic timeless things. And then be bold on the things that are easily changed. So I just love that motto. I want to love my house forever.
How do you spell her last name? I was writing this down.
Killam.
Okay. Her motto, like what you were just talking about, reminds me of how I've heard you should dress. Like we've talked about, you should invest in the pieces that are classy, that will last forever, and then have fun with the trendy pieces, the fast fashion. And so that's kind of neat because that's very similar to your home.
Yeah, like your color and your boldness could come in your rugs, your light fixtures, your curtains, your pillows, your bedding, things like that.
Right.
On the other hand, I think to myself, well, sometimes you really do like it. Like, I know that you don't personally like the black windows, Julie, because you've mentioned to me privately before, but I kind of like the black windows. Like, I kind of like looking at it. So I'm wondering, like, where's the balance? Do you ever get to try a trend because you like it or no?
But that's probably like a $70,000 trend. You know what I mean? I think that's her point is if you don't like those, you're not changing your windows again. Like, I think these are probably black metal windows that people are using, not just paint.
Yes.
But it just is it's very much connected to a certain time period,
Yes.
Right. Well, I'll say that's actually easy for me to answer the black window situation because the HOA in my neighborhood, you have to have a particular type of window on the front of your house.
Really?
And it's
and white.
It is white.
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
It is specifically written in the HOA document.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, our
A
HOA.
little bit, I felt like a rebel. I was like, can't tell me what kind of window.
Oh, yes, they can.
But I do like my window, so it's fine. Go ahead,
we
Julie.
just moved here in May, and I got an updated copy of the HOA. And as of 2022, you're no longer allowed to paint your brick in our neighborhood. So, I was a little disappointed because we painted our brick. We didn't paint it white, but they say, if you already have painted brick, you're allowed to repaint it, but you can't cover up your brick. And I thought that was interesting. I guess they're just worried that every house will look the same. Maybe that's, that's the reason. Right. They don't want every house to look alike.
Yeah, I could see that. On the other hand, again, I really do like the look of painted brick.
I do
and
too.
So if I moved into a house that had like that orangey brick that I don't like, it would be hard to know that you're not allowed to paint it.
Mm-hmm. Right. But this brings up something. I remember finding an Instagram page, and it's a decorator in Nashville. And her whole mantra was like, there goes another house, painted white brick, and that was her thing. Is she was she drove down the road showing all of the houses that started to look exactly the same, these beautiful homes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they were all doing the same technique on the outside. And so it just frustrated her to no end. And I think she started an Instagram page to talk about it.
Yeah.
I've seen Maria Killam even mention that. And people say Nashville is like one of the worst places for it. Like all these white painted houses, and they all do kind of start to look alike. And there's a section of town in Nashville called Green Hills. And it's a lot of older, like cottage style homes. And they're just tearing them down and putting up a giant white brick house. They're painting it from new brick, just right from the beginning. Right. And they do, it's kind of changing the character of the neighborhood. Yeah. So I get it, but.
Well, I can remember, and this is kind of coming back around, but for years and years, everybody painted every stick of furniture in their house they owned. Every wood piece was painted over. And I remember like my mom being like, people are going to regret that. They're painting over these beautiful wood pieces. And I think that is kind of coming around. Like you hear people now wanting to strip their furniture and wanting to leave it more natural. And so, yes, that is a trend that in the midst of it, now it wasn't a huge cost investment to paint. It wasn't like your house. But I remember we all thought, no, we're not going to care that we painted all this. This is the way it should be. And now you see a lot of people rejecting that painted furniture and wanting to go back to a more natural look.
Right.
Yeah. I know my daughter has stripped several pieces of furniture, not of her own, but like she'll buy. And then it turns into this gorgeous wood. Like she's able to get it to look really nice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they say that about all the people that painted their cabinets white, but I just don't believe it because I painted my wood cabinets and I have never regretted it one day.
Me either.
Yes.
So,
I do know that I heard when everybody was painting their furniture, I did hear a good rule to live by. Like every room only needs one piece of painted furniture.
Okay.
Not everything should be painted.
Right.
But
I had to put for some restraint.
Easy. Paint is, and a lot of, I remember HGTV shows when they did more just small projects. A lot of it would be, let's paint this piece of furniture.
Yeah.
So they influenced us during that time period too.
HGTV.
All right. Well, Julie, outside of this article, you wanted to talk about what you could choose to decorate when you first move into a new house. Is that what you were thinking of?
Yeah, I guess it was just like if somebody said, hey, we're just moving into a house, like where do you start? Like, do you have any decorating advice? I don't know. I figured that we've all moved and started over or redone things that we'd probably have some maybe like, what is our go-to advice? I don't know.
Well, Julie, I know I'll just tell listeners that Julie's been going like gangbusters. I mean, seriously, she has a new project going every week in her new house. So I feel like listeners would be very impressed to know all she has accomplished just from the beginning of May.
Well, we moved in May, so we've been here exactly 3 months, and we did put in a library upstairs and
built bookshelves from scratch. I mean, hired them out, but still, there weren't any bookshelves.
Yeah, so they're painted a really dark blue, and books are on the shelves, and it's styled and ready to go. And then I just wallpapered a bathroom this weekend, and I remember when I first moved into the house, and I knew that it was ours. I looked at that bathroom and said, "That has got to go," because it's this tiny little powder room off the main hall, and it's just great. It was great, and it had kind of an industrial mirror, black metal mirror. It has like nickel faucet, it was just kind of looked like a prison. So I don't know. I thought I wanted to do something really bold in there because I've heard you can go really bold in a small space because it's just going to stop at the door. You don't have to keep going. So I went really bold. So did that this weekend.
Can we share that picture of that on our Instagram?
Yeah, there's still some more to do in there, but
okay. Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know. Some of this isn't advice that I came up with, but it's things that I've heard and that I like to kind of apply, is that you shouldn't be this thing in your house. And that made me think of, Marie, when you mentioned that you don't go in and see like grandma's bed or chest of drawers in young people's homes anymore. And I just love having a few things. I'm not saying I want a whole hand-me-down house, but I just think it's kind of nice to have a few things that were maybe my parents or my grandparents. I mean, it could even be small, just conversation pieces. And I would say, like, don't buy all your furniture on the same day. And I heard this person say it in a really funny way. They said, because it's all going to die on the same day. You want to replace pieces, like one will come in and something else will go out, not like starting all over all at the same time. And then don't rush to decorate. Like, maybe let your house evolve over time. Pieces here and there. And I think that gives it more of a true kind of put together feel, when you take the time to do it. And then I would say overhead lighting is of the devil. So you need lots of lamps. And if you do have to have an overhead light, put a dimmer on it.
A dimmer switch.
Julie, in her 3 months, has learned how to install her own dimmers.
That's right. Yes. I installed 5.
Oh.
Yes. And Julie, you are a very big believer in unique light fixtures. Like, you brought chandeliers that you had in your home for the last 20 years or more. You had them moved to your new house.
Yeah, took them down before we showed our old house and then moved them. So I got rid of very stylish light fixtures in this house. I mean, they were gorgeous, but just they weren't me. So I was able to sell those and just put up my old ones. And
when we say old ones, they're very unique and beautiful. They're not just your old ones.
Well, yeah, I mean, but they are kind of old, but they're just what I like. And it made me feel kind of at home when those went up, like, I can kind of see the vision now. And one other thing I've learned from Maria Killam, and this is kind of where I'm stuck right now, is a lot of people think that the first thing you do when you move somewhere is paint. And then you'll go out and find your rug and your couch and she says it's exactly the opposite. Like, get the couch you like, get that rug you like that you already have or whatever, shop your house, put it all together, and then find the paint, because that's the least expensive thing. Yeah, you don't want to be shopping for a kind of an expensive item like a couch to match this paint when the paint could just be different, And I think I've always thought that way too. It's like, well, let's get some paint on the wall. And then I got to match it all. But she says to do it the other way around. So, I'm itching to paint. So I'm trying to decide how to make that work. Yeah.
What about you, Mindy? You've moved a lot.
I love that list. I have. And ironically, one of the first things we have had to do a lot of times is paint, only because it's so obnoxious.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have been able to, like, the house that we currently live in, I had already spent time thinking about paint colors. And again, I mentioned I'm pretty neutral, but I also like to have some depth and some warmth in my walls. And so I knew that from past mistakes. And then I also knew I wanted to have fun with the half bath and also with one of the rooms on the main level. And so I chose a deeper blue color, and it's the same blue color because I wanted continuity. For those two rooms, one of the rooms has built-ins. And so it had a lot of light and it had built-ins. And I'm like, okay, this room can handle a lot of color. And I was so happy to put this deeper blue color in there and then also in the bathroom. And so, honestly, it changed the whole look of the house because the house didn't show well. It had sat on the market for a little while and everything was creamy, yellow, dark. We even took, this was actually not a popular decision, but we took some plantation shutters off of windows and just opened them up. And so people probably would have gasped and thought, what are you doing? Those are expensive. And we thought we need light in our house and I want to see out these windows. And so we've been very happy
Yeah.
to be able to do that. And then I love what you said, Julie, about take time to decorate. I have been very frustrated with myself on multiple occasions to not be able to move into a house and know exactly what every room should look like right away. You don't. You don't. It took me over a year to figure out furniture placement in my living room. My living room's not that big. And I can't tell you how many times I switched between dining room tables, between our eat-in kitchen and our dining room. And I moved them and I have moved those tables. I've switched the tables and the chairs. I mean, I've put a couch in the eat-in kitchen. Then I put the table back. Then I have done so many things. And I finally feel like my house is functioning the way we live. And we're finally like matched. Whereas before we were in disagreement is the only way I could, it never felt right till it felt right. But it just took time.
Yeah.
It took time for me to figure out my house and figure out how we're going to live in it, and how we're going to use it and where people would gravitate. I needed to be at peace with the process because it took a lot longer than I thought it would.
It does.
And then I didn't have awesome light fixtures to bring with me, but we took our time picking out new light fixtures, just kind of one at a time. And that made such a big difference to be able to change out a light fixture. I mean, it completely changed the whole room. So that's actually can be a more inexpensive fix unless you're going to, a major statement piece. But that really changes the whole feel and dynamic of a room.
Yeah, that does make a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the temptation when you move in is like try to get it all done. And then you're just going to be like, okay, now decorating is done. And I don't find decorating to ever be done. Like I was thinking about, we lived in our house almost 20 years. I was thinking about all the different rugs I've had in the living room, the different couches that I've had, the different color rooms that I've had, the different curtains that I've had, the different tables I've had, the different light fixtures I've had. Like, I'm never going to be the kind of person that just decorated once and then that was it till I died. I just can't live like that.
That's another thing that would make you sad. Like if you just said, okay, I'm going to make it look like HGTV and in one weekend you did it, what else is there to do? I mean, to me, it's fun to, like you said, this isn't going to stay this way forever. I'm going to change it over the years,
Right. It changes with your family. So I guess like if you're moving somewhere, I don't think it's bad to live with the ugly wallpaper for a year if it takes you that long to decide what you want and get around to stripping it. Or, I mean, and don't, I guess my advice would be don't stop living in the meantime. Like, don't think, well, I can't have anyone over until I have my house all finished. Meanwhile, you moved 5 years ago and you've never had any company. Or don't become so paralyzed that you never hang anything up. Either. Like it's just nails. Yeah. And they're just holes in the wall. And they're not even huge. Like you could spackle over those super easy. And I feel like hanging things on the walls is something that brings so much personalization.
I did do that first. I think I had my pictures up pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mindy, I know you're kind of gritting your teeth because
when you've paid to have it all painted.
Right.
It is
then
hard.
you're like, well, I'm not sure. But also, part of you, like when we moved in this house, there were so many emotions involved because, I wanted to make it home. We had been renting for a year and I just really wanted to be settled right away. You just can't rush that. I mean,
No.
you cannot rush that feeling, that existence. And so, putting in the first nail hole, like it took me a minute. And then, I've decorated so many places so fast. So I did take a little more time this time just to enjoy bare walls. And then I was like, okay, well, I want to take my time because I want to actually do it right. I'm not trying to quickly decorate anything right now. I've done that in the past. And so part of it was a rebellion against, I'm not moving soon. So I'm going to take my time.
Yeah.
But just don't get to where it's like, unless it's perfect, I'm not hanging it either,
I know, because it is that first nail hole. You're like, well, it's done now.
It kind of gets easier with each nail hole, though. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. But I will say one major decision that we have been holding off on is furniture. We've not bought any new furniture for this house. We have not been ready. And so everything's kind of in a place. But all of our furniture has been well loved, like through several houses and moves. And there's something comforting about it. And I know, like, my couches still look okay, but you can feel that they have been well worn, And so one day we'll be ready for that, but we're just not yet. And so that's still just waiting.
Yeah.
But that'll be a next step for us when we decide to actually buy furniture for the house.
Yes. Well, and I don't think that furniture necessarily has to be as big of an investment as it used to be, like maybe when we first got married. With Facebook Marketplace now, I really feel like you can switch your furniture out when you want. You can probably get if you bought it on Facebook Marketplace, you can probably turn around and sell it for about what you bought it for. And then you can just buy something different. Like, I feel like there's so many choices of furniture. It would be hard for me to go into an actual furniture store and say, okay, I like this enough to pay this inflated rate when I know I can get something similar on Facebook Marketplace. Like, it would have to be like, okay, I have a very special size that I need, or a very special space, because I don't think I'm going to like anything full price long enough to have gotten the value out of it. Part of the fun is changing.
Y'all, when I get rid of my brown leather couch, it's just going to be I don't even know what I'll do with myself. Y'all are going to have to help me because I haven't looked at a couch in 20. I've had that couch for 20 years. Yeah. And as long as Charlie's here, it's staying, but.
Right.
Well, one of my favorite questions to ask a friend, what's something you've done to your house lately, or what are you planning to do next? And I feel like if you're just going to decorate once, how's anyone ever going to ask you that?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. If you just say, I'm done. That sounds so boring.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. There's always something new, I feel like. Even if you're just painting a door, like there's always something new that I want to try.
Or just rearranging.
Yes, just rearranging. Like there's things that you can do to personalize that if you have to change them, you can. Okay, so here's an example. So my daughter, she's a photographer, and she took us to the studio and took pictures of my husband and I with our grandchildren earlier this year. And in the studio, they had a fireplace filled with books. And I loved it. I came home and I wanted to replicate that. And it turned out like in a week or two, our library was having its book sale. So I thought, well, I'm going to go and buy all the vintage books I can find, and I'm going to recreate this. So I recreated my fireplace with books in it. And I liked it. You guys, I don't know if I got even one compliment on it. Like, I think it was so personalized that people did not know what to do with it. Then recently, I took them out, and the first thing my mother said when she walked in was, "Oh, I like your fireplace so much better the way you have it right now." And then my daughter and my daughter-in-law asked me why I took them out. I said, "Oh, that project was a total bust." I said, "Nobody ever liked it." And they're like, "We liked it." And then these two other friends I was talking to, and they asked me about it. I said, well, nobody ever, well, we liked it. But I'm just saying that that was a very personalized project. And it wasn't a huge investment. I mean, I got the books on the half off day at the sale. It was fun to do, and it wasn't that hard to switch back out. I just donated the ones that weren't true colors that I loved and kept maybe like a box full of them. So I switched out easy enough. But I'm glad I did it because I enjoyed seeing it like that. I enjoyed the fun of planning that project, getting the books, setting it up. I loved that fireplace when I saw it in that studio. And so I wanted to try it in my own house. But not every project is successful in other people's eyes.
I didn't see it, but I know I would have liked it because I've seen that on Instagram in this house that I follow in Maine, and she has done that. And did you just kind of have them going every which way?
Yeah.
Like some are vertical and some are,
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, there's a select few that thought it looks good, Julie, and they weren't coming over to my house.
Okay. That is so funny.
But someday I will come across like birthday parties or whatever in pictures, and it'll be like, oh, there was Chapel's birthday party. Oh, and that's when Mom had the books in her fireplace. Remember when Mom had the books in her fireplace?
Right.
And those are kind of fun to see. So don't be afraid to do a project. Don't be afraid to put some personalization in your home. Most of the time you can back right back out of it.
Well, I have just experienced something quite unique, and I'm just going to share it right now because it somewhat applies to this topic.
Yeah.
Okay, last night, I don't know what happened, but I ended up looking up past homes that we have owned.
Like on Zillow or something? Okay.
And I was able to look up 4 homes that are posted online right now, have all of my furniture in it.
What do you mean it has all your furniture?
All of the pictures of those homes that are online was from when I lived there.
Oh,
they're
really?
using your pictures, or you left the furniture? Oh,
yes.
That's too funny.
I was like, I actually, look, I made a note. Oh, you can't see. I made a note on my phone, and I put the address and I put the link, and I sent it to all the family. I said, just in case you want to reminisce over the past 15 years, 20 years, this is what it looked like when we lived there and we were selling the home. And it is bizarre, you guys, because the last 3 homes, we have all the same furniture.
Well, and I guess new pictures probably wouldn't go up on Zillow unless the people that bought it from you sold.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Okay, funny. Isn't that wild? So Redfin actually kept all of our pictures up. And so it was just a wild deep dive into like decorating all of the things that I have in my home now, how I used it before. And it was quite interesting.
Yes.
I've never thought to look up old houses. That's interesting.
Yes, because the walls were different colors in some of the houses. So things are used differently.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I'd have a hard time remembering all my old addresses. I guess I'd have to look them up.
I know.
Oh, that's funny. That's really funny.
So,
yeah. Well, I know that I've driven by some homes before that we've owned, like when we've gone back to different states, and like some windows will still have the same curtains. I remember hanging those curtains. And they still have them up, they're still hanging today.
Oh, makes you feel good.
Cool. Yeah. So funny. Well, I enjoyed talking about this topic with you guys. And I will say that I still love to go in people's homes, and I just feel like I know someone better if I've seen their home. And I think that is because our homes are an extension. And I hope that personalization doesn't disappear and we just become all sad and boring, because then we won't know each other by looking at each other's homes.
I know. Start to get to know yourself. I'm trying to get to know myself and colors. And I want to incorporate some bolder choices in my home.
Yeah. Right. And Julie already does. She's not afraid to branch out.
She lives fearlessly.
Yes.
Well, wait till you see my wallpaper.
Ooh, I can't wait.
But it's
I'm
beautiful.
so excited.
It's really nice. Listeners, if you've seen this article, have any thoughts, come and find us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast or email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But before we go, we want to do I'm a Fan. All right, Julie, what are you a fan of this week?
I'm a fan of a product called Restore a Finish. Haven't you shared this before, Marie?
I don't know if I've shared it and I'm a fan, but I am a fan of it.
Okay. It's the brand is made, it's Howard, and it said the tagline is restore it, don't strip it. So it's to use on faded wood finishes. It blends out scratches and blemishes. It'll remove white heat rings, and it's easy wipe on, wipe off. And you can pick from different, looks like there's 7 or 8 different stains, like any neutral to pine to oak to walnut to ebony, whatever wood you're using it on. So I bought it for a table. Marie, it was that sofa table that I showed you was so scratched up behind my couch. Mm-hmm. And so I tried it on that because it wasn't an expensive table or anything, and it worked so well. Mm-hmm. So that night, I think I restored my entire house.
Are you serious?
Yes, because I thought this is miraculous. So I had 2 pieces of furniture that the movers damaged. One tabletop looked like they had turned it upside down and rubbed it on the concrete. Oh. And then another was a nightstand, and the edge had gotten all chipped up, the finish. And so I put that on there, and I mean, it looks brand new.
That's
so
crazy.
I just started hitting every wood surface I have. I had a dining room table that had a few of those heat rings in it.
Did it take that out?
I've been I would say it faded them.
Okay.
So I don't know if I did it again, if it might, keep doing it. But I was really afraid to touch the dining room table because it has a nice finish, and I didn't want to, mess it up. But it did great. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So if you have some tabletops with scratches or nicks, that's where it works best, I think,
Yeah. That's one of the reasons that I love wood furniture and wood floors is you pretty much can't damage them because products like that pretty much get them looking brand new again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. I love the character. Those are my favorite pieces, are the natural wood furniture because a little nicks and, that makes it more cozy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. All right, Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
All right. Well, since I don't have any great tips or tricks for my house recently, because we're at the end of summer here on this podcast, and I'm really just hoping to be able to polish my wood furniture when the boys go back to school, because it's all dusty right now. So I'm going to go with a coffee bean.
Okay. Because it's keeping you awake.
Fueling my summer. Yeah. Fueling my summer. And this is just so basic, but it's a Starbucks roast and it's espresso.
Oh.
And I hadn't seen it before. I used to get the Verona blend. Mm-hmm. And now I get the espresso roast. And it's just really good. So I just happened to switch up my coffee, and I'm really enjoying it. So that's what's fueling me right now.
Yes.
I'm going to go with that.
And school's starting this Friday, so you're almost at the finish line.
I'm almost there.
All right. I'm a fan of a movie that I took my boys to see. We went to see The Sound of Freedom. And The Sound of Freedom is a heavy movie, but I thought it was really, and you don't even want to say it was really good. I guess it was just really powerful and eye-opening for me. If you don't know it, it's based on a true story. He rescues a boy from child traffickers. He's a federal agent, and he learns the boy's sister is still captive and decides to embark on a dangerous mission to save her. And it is so eye-opening. We all hear the word trafficking, but I don't think I really understood the depth of the depravity and the evil behind it. And just like that showed real video from other countries of like gangs and people just coming up and snatching kids out of mothers' arms, or kids are playing on a bike and they just snatch the kids and they're never seen again. And, they kind of show you like how they end up in the child trafficking ring and how they're sent around the world and how their pictures end up on the web, and then, you know, the depravity of the people that look at those. And it's a hard movie to watch, but I just wasn't aware of how pervasive it is. And I don't really know, like at the end, it wasn't like, and here's 5 steps you can do to stop child trafficking. I don't know that I can really do anything myself. I guess it made me more aware of the problem. It made me more aware of the evil of it. If I ever had the chance to vote on any kind of legislation to end it, you know, like, I don't know, I could do whatever I could in my power, but I don't know, just these poor kids, I just felt like it was kind of a voice for them, make people aware of the problem, make people aware of who's perpetrating this, who, you know, is turning a blind eye to it. I don't know, I'd recommend seeing it. They don't actually, everything is suggested. So like you finish it out in your mind.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was a very powerful movie, and I want to recommend it to people, you know, so.
Yeah, I've heard that it was very powerful and moving and very eye-opening. And
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
That's one of the movies that we'd like to go see.
Yeah.
Or want to see.
Right. Yeah. So, all right, listeners, we hope you've enjoyed this episode. Come and find us if you do anything new to your house. Julie, Mindy, I'm always interested when you guys do something new. Even just this week, I asked Julie what she was doing new, and she shared pictures of me of her bathroom. And so I just love to see what people are doing.
Oh, I can't wait to see the bathroom. I'm looking for inspiration now that school's starting. I'm ready. I'm ready for something.
Okay.
Well, it might be a bit bold for you.
I think
it's a classic, Julie. I really do.
You should check out my Pinterest board of bold color.
Yes.
Okay, I'll look at that.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.